Deep in the heart of an ancient jungle, a vast and thriving forest stretched as far as the eye could see. Towering trees stood like silent guardians, their emerald leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. A symphony of chirping birds, rustling leaves, and gurgling brooks filled the air with a melody of life. Among the many creatures that called the forest home, there was a tiny hummingbird named Luma. She was no bigger than a child's hand, with shimmering blue-green feathers that sparkled in the sunlight. Though small in size, Luma had a heart full of boundless energy and an unbreakable spirit. She spent her days flitting from flower to flower, sipping nectar, and sharing stories with the other animals. The forest was a sanctuary for all its inhabitants: the mighty elephants, the swift deer, the wise old owl, the playful monkeys, and the quiet but watchful tigers. Each had a role in maintaining the balance of the ecosystem, and life went on in harmony. Until one fateful day, one summer afternoon, a stray spark from a traveler's abandoned campfire landed on a dry pile of leaves. At first it was a tiny flicker, barely visible among the foliage. But with the help of the scorching sun and the dry air, the small spark turned into a flickering flame. The wind carried it further, igniting branches and bushes along its path. The forest, once so full of life and color, was suddenly painted in hues of red and orange. Smoke coiled upwards like sinister fingers, filling the sky with a thick, dark cloud. The peaceful melodies of the forest were replaced with the crackling of burning wood and the terrified cries of animals. Panic spread like wildfire. Monkeys shrieked and leapt from tree to tree looking for safety. Deer bolted through the underbrush, their hooves thundering against the earth. The great elephants trumpeted in alarm, calling their young to stay close. Birds took to the sky, their wings beating frantically as they searched for an escape. In the middle of this chaos, Luma watched in horror. She knew the fire was spreading too quickly. If nothing was done, their beautiful home would be reduced to ashes. But what could a tiny hummingbird do against such a monstrous force? Determined, Luma flew as fast as her tiny wings could carry her to the nearest river. Hovering just above the surface, she dipped her beak into the cool water, collecting a single drop. With her heart pounding, she raced back toward the fire and let the drop fall onto the raging flames. It vanished in an instant, swallowed by the inferno. Yet, undeterred, Luma turned back toward the river and repeated the process. The other animals paused in their frantic escape to watch her. A great tiger, his amber eyes full of disbelief, growled, "Luma, what are you doing? You're just one tiny bird. That drop of water won't stop this fire." A wise old owl perched high on a branch hooted in agreement. "It's hopeless, dear child. You should fly to safety like the others." Luma, though exhausted, looked at them with unwavering determination. "I may be small," she said, "but I am doing my part." Her words carried on the wind, reaching the ears of every animal in the forest. For a moment, silence fell as they considered her bravery. Then, something incredible happened. Inspired by Luma's courage, the great elephant turned toward the river. With his powerful trunk, he sucked in gallons of water and sprayed it onto the flames. The monkeys, realizing they had nimble hands, began grabbing large leaves and fanning the fire, trying to suffocate it. The deer and boars used their hooves to kick dirt onto the burning ground, covering the flames. The birds carried twigs and leaves soaked in water and dropped them onto the fire. Even the tiger, known for his fierce independence, began using his mighty paws to push fallen logs away from the flames to prevent them from catching fire. One by one, each creature found a way to contribute. It was not easy. The fire was relentless, and the heat was unbearable. Smoke filled their lungs, and exhaustion weighed heavily on their bodies. But together, they continued. And slowly, inch by inch, the fire began to weaken. The flames, once tall and powerful, shrank. By nightfall, what was once a raging inferno had been reduced to smoldering embers. The forest, though scarred, still stood. The animals, weary but triumphant, gazed at their home, knowing they had saved it because of a single hummingbird's determination. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight peeked through the canopy, The animals gathered around Luma. The great elephant, his voice full of gratitude, said, "You taught us that no effort is too small. Without your courage we would have lost our home." The wise owl nodded. "Bravery isn't measured by size but by heart, and you, little one, have the heart of a giant." Luma blushed but smiled. "I just did what I could, and when we all did our part, we made a difference." From that day forward, the story of Luma, the tiny hummingbird who dared to fight a fire, was passed down through generations. It became a reminder to all creatures, big or small, that even the smallest actions, when combined with others, can bring about great change. And so, the forest thrived once more, not just because of its towering trees and flowing rivers, but because of the unity and courage of its inhabitants. Moral of the story: no effort is too small when it comes to making a difference. Even the tiniest actions, when done with courage and determination, can inspire great change.